Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin the Food Entrepreneur Show. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host. That's Bizzarro. For anyone who's out there, you can find us on Instagram at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs, and you can find me personally at Justin Bizzarro. Also, if you're on Instagram, that's the platform we're mainly focusing on. By the time this podcast comes out, there will be our online presence. It's a work in progress, so everyone just bear with us. But on there will be Gorilla Brave, both the website, Instagram starting to populate already as we speak. It's an extrapolation of information from all my years in food and beverage and my experience, plus everything I've learned from all the entrepreneurs doing this podcast over the last 6 years. On and off, lessons learned, things change in our lives, we grow. And one of the things that has happened in my growth is that I wasn't sure how the podcast will continue or if I'd continue it. But as I rebuilt my life and have transitioned into a new path, it still seems to be here. And it still is something that I continually get individuals who have been on the show or individuals who have been influenced by the show reaching out to me, asking me to do more shows because of what they're learning from the entrepreneurs on the show in their own businesses. And then also this driving demand for networks and communities, specifically in the food and beverage space, specifically to help grow one another in those avenues. And then there's obviously, I hear about the other things, the financial stuff, the stuff that gives you boosts in life that help differentiate your business versus everyone else. It's not only the food or the beverage. It's also the vendors you use, the accountants you use, the lawyers you used. All of those things really, really, really matter in your business. And it's okay to sort of make sure that your round table, for lack of a better term, is where you are, and it's okay to rotate it sometimes. I have Ann with us, Ann Ward from New York. Pastries
Hello,
by Ann. How are you, Ann?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. And you have an incredible story, and I only know bits and pieces from chatting back and forth on, I don't even know what it's called. I guess it's still called DM on Instagram, but social media is changing so much right now. I don't even know. And but we've talked back and forth. I love what you're doing. You came recommended from a friend, a very dear friend who is in Astoria, Queens. And so I reached out, and Anne responded like very quickly. I was very impressed. Right questions, cares about her brand. I want you to share with the audience. Let's hear your story from little Anne all the way to becoming the entrepreneur Anne for Pastries by Anne.
Well, I come a long way actually because I was born and raised in Bangkok, Thailand. And in Thailand we do not have that infrastructure, whereas it's the gas pipe that deliver to your home. So we we cook using the propane tank. So dessert to me, it just meaning we go out with my dad and my mom to the market to pick the Thai dessert. And if you would have want anything like cake and cookies, we'll go to the bakery in the hotel or go to department store and get those stuff that is not Thai dessert. So I'm actually never bake. Don't know what they always look like, but I always love to cook. I think it's because of my grandfather from my dad's side. He's a chef. He liked to cook. I remember he always asked me, "What do you want to eat?" And then we'll sit down, cook together when I was very young. And it's just something about food and cooking that I like. And the most rewarding is when we sit down and we have the meal and it just feels right, just good. So long story short, I was just do a lot of thing in Thailand. I graduate. I was a reporter for the television, and I have a column in the newspaper for the kids. I love those life. It just you never do the same thing. Every day I go into the company, I'll look on the board and I will find my name, whether what I cover for today. It could be homicide, it could be politics, it could be sports. And those are really nice and exciting to me. And I have a little clip on the TV show is similar to Help Me Howard here, that you need only like 2 minutes of the whole thing, but you have to go and hunt and figure it out. What's the problem? Who's responsible? How to get it resolved? And then because it's not so important as like a regular news, so I have to wait at night until everybody use the dub room, and then I'll be able to go in and do my editing and everything else. Which is my parents didn't like it because I'm only child and I'm a woman. So they're like, no, this is too late. You can't come home this late. Let's find something else to do. And it just, because our culture is different. So when your parents tell you something, you kind of listen to them. So I changed my career from journalism to work into advertising company. And then I owned my business after working for many years. And I'm like, no, I don't, I want to do something else. So I opened internet cafe. After that, I feel like, what else am I missing? What I wanted to do. So I come to the US and then I migrate here. And it's just something that I start baking and asking my roommate how to use the oven. And it was just basically my stress relief from work. Never thought of something that could be in the long run, but it's just nice to be in my own space, create something and take away all those stress. So that's what I like to do the most.
And you've created something, right? I mean, this is not only did you fall in love with baking, but you're starting to build something with it. So, I mean, it's not only a stress relief now, but it's become more than that. It's become an entrepreneurial endeavor that sort of you've taken your past experiences as an entrepreneur, as a reporter, as these skills have stacked and you've been able to create something more. Talk to me about this. What happens when you discover baking and why it grabs you so much? You talk about love. I think we've talked about, some of that in food, you and I offline, but what grabs you about the baking?
What it is about baking is is no limit. It's something that you thought of what you like to do and you kind of have a blank canvas. You could create a cake, but what the experience you want from the cake, what the flavor. So those kind of thing that is make is special to me. For example, with cooking, you could cook something and it's like, okay, it's not good. Let boom, put a teaspoon of salt is gonna be okay, or put a little bit sugar. But baking is something that is very very set in the way that you bake. So you can't put it in the oven halfway and say, you know what, I don't think it's good. Let's take it out and put another quarter teaspoon of salt or sugar and it will be all fine. So it's kind of like it's interesting. It's something that you create and once it's in, that's it. You just have to wait until it come out and then create another element. But I like the organization of it. I like the planning of it. Like when you bake, you have to plan, oh, this is what I need, this is what I want. And it just becomes something that I want to come home and think of, oh my God, I want to create a Thai tea cake. This is what I'm going to do. And I will plan, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to get to put together one thing. And that was something that I like about it. I get excited by the idea and the thing that I see or I experience during the time. It could be something that just piqued my interest. Oh, how about I do this? And that's was something that I like about baking. And it was just that one day sitting at the desk, we were talking about with my coworker about what we're going to do. And a lot of people get tired of their job, do the same thing, and dealing with the same problem. And I remember telling my friend that, so if I'm not sitting here doing this, what I would be, what I would do. Am I going to another company doing the same thing? It's just different desk, or what can I do if one day the company doesn't want me? So I know at that time I feel like I need to have a trade or something that I can fall back on. And I feel that baking is the right solution for me. And from that, I just feel that, okay, I can't go to the bakery or go to the restaurant and say, hey, I love baking. Would you hire me? In the US, is, you've got to have that paper. So I signed myself up for the pastry school to become a pastry chef. It's 8 months program. But what I was not aware is that I have to put into an 10 hours of externship to be able to become a pastry chef. If you don't do that, you can go learn all the trade, but you don't get that certificate in your hand and say, hey, I'm a pastry chef. So I sacrifice that. So I do 8 months, whereas weekend, full day. So I work Monday to Friday and I go to school full time on Saturday, Sunday from 9 to 5. When it cut over to the externship, it's just from work, go to the place working. So I will be working from at my desk job from 8 in the morning to 4:30, and then I will travel to go to Daniel's and work there, and then come home after 11 or 10, and or sometime later to get home. And then yet when I get home, I'm like, I want to bake. I want to create this. I wonder if I do this, would it work? So that was my life during the externship. It's about 2, 3 months. And after that, one of the chefs reached out to me and say, hey, I want you to work with me if it didn't go through with your externship. I said, all right, no problem. But I need one condition. If you can give this to me, I'll work with you. So she said, name it. I said, I have to work a night shift because I cannot not working in my corporate job and just take this job from the bottom of the tadpoles, $15 an hour. So she said, okay, fine, I give you a night shift. You can come work at a night shift. So my life is about 8 in the morning to 4:30, 5 to 1. That was my hours. And I'll get home 2, 3 in the morning and I go back and do the same thing again. And as you know, work in the restaurant, you have to work one day on the weekend. So either Saturday, Sunday, I will work 8 hours. But because I love it, I just never feel that, I don't want to do it. I just want to keep at it during that time.
I love this. I think one of the things I want to talk about here is your sacrifice to gain the skill. You're still gaining have a corporate job per se, but talk to me what it's like to how long you have to work, how long you're in this sort of state of working multiple jobs, trying to build a dream or something greater. How long does this go on? How do you sort of make your way out of it? How do you build from here? And what is the opportunity that she gives you do for you, for your skill?
I was hang on to that working two job. And I remember one point, one of my peer was at the restaurant asked me, are you hurting for money? Because you're working two job. Like I said, not, I'm not, but I have my corporate job, but I just want to do this. And I've been hanging on to that over, I would say two, 2, 3 years at least before I feel like, maybe I should try to do something. And that's when I figured out what to do. I reached out to my instructor, my chef, and I say, okay, this is what I want to do. And I remember one of my chefs said to me, and when you're going to do this, because if you want to do it, you have to do it now. Because once you get older, you can't do this. You can't work these hours. You can't keep it up. It's long hour. It's hard work in the kitchen. So you have to think about it. So that's when I think about, okay, if I can't do this when can I do it? So, but that time it would just happen with the COVID. I have to stop working in the restaurant because of that, and then I s- it was the time that is given me to think about what to do. So I'm starting put the business plan, looking for the space, and I opened the store.
And this is sort of going on while COVID is going on. You're like this is your opportunity to sort of reach out on your own and build something. Is that correct?
Yes, it was during the COVID. It was really tough. Laying off people is tough. Seeing your colleague being laid off is tough. But I, but that was something reminded me of what I was thinking at one point. If should something happen, what am I doing? Not everybody, we are dispensable. It's not like you not, they need you all the time. So that was reflecting a lot during that time because some of my coworkers just, they don't know what to do. They can't find a job. They don't have a job and they don't know what to do. Not many of us have another set of plan. So that's why it gave me a time to think, okay, now what can I do and what to start from there. So I'm doing still two jobs, one job in the corporate and the other job is my own thing to do business plan, to go look for the place, to make sure what I need. It take quite some time because during that time it's also hard. You see a lot of places empty. It doesn't mean that the price going down is very cheap. It just they can't do it. They have to stop, but it doesn't mean that you get it very cheap and things. So it's just patient and go to many round of. It's just hard when you need to get the loan and you try to negotiate your lease and you don't know what to do first. You don't know whether you go to the loan first or get the lease or you get the lease and get the loan. So those kind of thing that is a gamble. I was told that you can look for the place first and then apply for the loan. But what if you don't get the loan? Now what? So that was in my head. And if I go ahead with the loan and sign the lease after, what if the lease doesn't, what if the lease also doesn't go through and the loan doesn't, you know, go through? So those kind of thing that is kind of a gamble of what choice you make and the timing and everything. People ask me sometimes, like, what do you do first? I said, to be honest, I take a shot of where I apply for the loan and look for the place and then negotiate with the landlord. And actually, I signed the lease, but then my loan doesn't come through until after, but it did come through. But that's a case where I heard that people, the loan didn't come through. They have to go get second loan, but you were told, oh, if your loan doesn't go through the first time, it's difficult for you to try to find another loan at the second time. So that was I learned. And that's what I go through. It's really interesting, I would say.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, so a lot of it was you're having to search this, and some of it's trial and error where you've gained the skill in baking and being in pastries, and then you're trying to also now navigate the business side of things, find a space, get a loan. You obviously achieved a way of putting it together to open your space. So you did find a location. Talk to me about finding a location. Do you have to renovate it? Equipment? How do you start figuring all of that out?
This is also another thing that is difficult. I have to think about whether I should be in Brooklyn. I live in Brooklyn. Queen is because my boyfriend is here. So I'm only child. He has a family member. And from visiting him and looking around, I love this part of Queen. And I know if I love Brooklyn too. But if I open in Brooklyn, what chances are he can come to help me? And all of that will be a little bit difficult for him. But if I'm here in Astoria, in Queen, then, he has a family that can help me. He can help me. So that's part of the factor to think of. Okay, if I'm not in Brooklyn, this Queen will be more of reasonable, like something that doable. So it was just from walking along. Sometimes we spend time together over the weekend. We walk along the street. We just see the place and we say, "Oh, how nice would it be to be here?" And that's how we start looking. And the place is this location that I'm in is just abandoned for many years. So it's an empty space that have to build from the ground up. So I was told many people say you must look for the it's better for you to look for the place that has the kitchen rather than build the kitchen. But it's not all the time that you see the place available that has a kitchen. And even though they have a kitchen, you still have to renovate, to build, or to change it to yours. So I was not lucky in that aspect actually to be able to find a place that has the kitchen. So this place, the landlord was telling me that, he wasn't sure whether what he wanted to do with this place because he want to sell the whole building. But if nobody buy it, I will renovate it and we can talk. So that's what he told me. And that's where we start. And I start looking to different area in Finicity, in Astoria. Then when he renovated, well, I'll talk to him again and he said, yeah, I decided to do this, but this is going to be an ice box. There's nothing in it. And if you like, you can rent it out and we can talk about it. So I decided to go with the ice box with nothing in it. And I go in and just, it's like buying the house, I guess, like or renting apartment. You don't get exactly what you want, but you have to work with what you have. And if you can see and picture it that, this will be good, then you'll be able to work through it. So if I would have showed you the picture of the place, you would be like, what happened? Because it was just, it's hard to lay out everything. But I was there every day. I'm looking at the space, like what to put, where to put, go in with tape measure everything out, think about the location. And sometimes it's not as you plan. Like I would love to have the oven in front of the store, but because of the building, the architect, you can't. So that's something to keep in mind. Sometimes you have picture of something, you think it will work, but because of Department of Building and other stuff come with it, so you can't. So now I have to work different step. I have to put the hood on, foot, and lay out the whole thing in my head of what could it be, what space, how much space would I need, and lo and behold, we have all of that layout. As far as the equipment concerned, I never owned a restaurant or a bakery before. So this is my first time and first time in the US. So I just think of, okay, this is my menu. This is the equipment that I wanted to have. But believe it or not, as I open, I realize a certain thing, actually I don't need them. But because I used to work in other people's kitchen, I think, oh, I might need this, I might need that. So it's also hard to pinpoint, but I guess that you need to have a necessity, like oven, cooling rack. You have an idea of those, but the specific tools is different, and you have to counter in the paper, the bag, the box, the utensil, what kind of packaging and thing you want to present. So it's it's so many detail, and actually I have a couple people who wanted to open the business come and ask me. One of my fellow in the in school from school or people who I know, and I say, oh, what do you think? What equipment I would need? And my advice to a couple people that I met, I said, look, I can't really tell you how many tray you would need, how many oven you would need. I guess you have to think of what menu you're going to do and what tools you would need and start from there. It's not a right or wrong thing, but it's just something that you have to figure from the menu back to the equipment, not the equipment and the menu. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And so like you're trying to figure this all out, you're building the space out, you're doing all this stuff, you're learning as you go. Like let's talk about what does your menu look like that you're designing to get the equipment then to match it? Like cuz you're now having to figure that out, right? So what are the things you're passionate about and what are you trying to make sure are on your menu to get the equipment in?
What I have to thank to my company, my corporate office that give me certain skill. I have to move the office. I have to negotiate with I have to go scout for the place with a new office. I had to talk to the landlord. So all of those actually come to help with me opening Pastry by Anne. So that helps a lot in terms of taking on the job and moving in here and help me to see, oh, this is, what you need in terms of the space. But from the menu, I love something that you can have on the go, something that decadent is good, but you don't have to sit down with fork, spoon, and knife. You can have it on the go. You can enjoy it anywhere, anytime. And that's one of the things is making the tart. And the tart is something that's quite challenging because the US people think of pie more than just a tart. How many, like, let's say if you go to the bakery, do you, like, if you see the pie and the tart, which one you go for?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you,
because we're not used to tarts and they kind of we don't know what to do with them quite as Americans.
so that is something that I want to introduce. It's so, to me, it's so versatile. This like, it's square, is the tart. You can put anything in the shell and you can have it on the go. So that's one of the things I love. So I actually have that machine to make a tart shell because I'm a sucker. I believe in knowing the food, knowing ingredient that go into my food. So instead of me buying a tart shell, I want to make it. I want to have this. And this equipment come all the way from Italy. It come with the plate. You can choose whether you want it square, round, heart shape. You can order that plate that we use with this machine to make a tart shell. So I have the tart shell machine from the menu that I wanted to have, and we still serve our guava tart, fig tart. Our brownies are all made from the tart machine. So that was definitely one of the thing that worked off from the menu. The dough sheeter, because my cookie and the croissant, things that I need. So that I know that I will need a dough sheeter because I don't buy a croissant. I want to make them. Even our guava jam, I make my own guava jam to make our guava croissant, to make our guava tart. So that is something that I want. I want something with the cake. I have cake on the menu. I have cookies. I have brownies, but I don't like the veg cake. A lot of people like them. A lot of people here used to them. That you see the cake, you have to see that triangle. To me, is nothing wrong. To me, in my opinion, if you go for if you go to the bakery with somebody, you'll have this cake and you'll be like, okay, how to share this? It's so hard to cut in the middle to share. And if you eat the front, it's nothing. If you eat the back, it's a lot of frosting. So when I open pastry band, I want every bite that I serve to my customer is evenly distributed, is easy to share. So that's why our cake here is square. So you can cut into two, cut into four, or portion control for yourself. You have a quarter today, a quarter tomorrow. So that was kind of thing that go along. But we also learn as we go. We do make mistake. I remember one of my chefs say, "You're gonna make a mistake, and you're gonna have to fix it, and then you move on. You learn from that." And it's true. I learned my mistake. I have a mistake. I go in and I say, "Gee, this is not right." So you have to kind of figure them out and iron it out and come up with the best way that you have.
Yeah, I love this. What's your favorite thing to bake or favorite thing to eat that you bake at your at your location? Like, talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what are your some of your favorite things and why?
I love cannoli. I love this French pastry. It's crusty outside, custardy inside. It's one of the baked goods that has two texture. It's just something that I'm obsessed about. It was one of the things that challenging because if you think about it, it's not really a lot of bake that go into the oven and come out to texture. I like a texture person. I'm a texture person. I don't like to have something that just mush. I like to have something moist, nice, and crunchy. So kind of like is all of that. It's just like the initial bite to it is like a baguette. Like you bite into the baguette, and then inside it's just nice and custard. So I love it, and I wanted to know how to make it, and I start making them in 2019. And because I like it so much, I try to make other flavor, and that's why a lot of my customer know me from my cannoli. And I offered on the weekend, I offered a different flavor. We have black sesame, we have coconut ube, we have Thai tea, and it's not a lot of bakery do that. And I don't think that a lot of bakeries serve cannoli either because it's kind of fussy. It has its own mold. I ordered a mold from France because I'm very I'm very obsessed about it. I'm a stickler for make it the way it's supposed to. Some people buy the silicone mold, some people buy something. I gotta have this copper mold. So and it's expensive. But it's just worth every bite.
It's very
It
true. It
just
is. I know exactly what you're talking about. There's certain things that we try to fix that just diminish the value of the food so much, the qualities, so on and so forth. But go on.
it's just like it can't like you can't. I don't know. Like I cannot cut the corner. Like I just want it. It's pain in the ass to season them all. It's super hot when it come out, but once you knock them out in the morning and you have that bite, you're like, oh, this is this is what you like. So I love it so much. So I think last I produced about 26 flavors, and I still produce different flavors as we go along. So that was something that every weekend people were looking forward to see, oh, what is the flavor that I'm going to come out with it? So the other one would be my cookies. I love doing my cookies because I like crunchy, I guess, because it will be a place and time that you eat that big, huge cookies that pot cook, pot roll. But I like something thin, light, and crispy. So that's how I serve my cookie here. Have about like 10 flavors of my personal, like the flavor that I like. But it's such a nice thing that you can just have a little bit of have one piece of cookies and then it's crunch and it has all the flavor in it. I think a lot of customer like those as well. And I like this triple C our cake. If you like chocolate, it's really nice and decadent. It's really good chocolate. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all make chocolate cake from Martha Stewart to whoever that else that make them. But cake are different, even though you make the chocolate cake, but your method, the way you put it, or the way you interpret it, your cake are all different. So I would say that everybody bake could be the same thing, but they all taste different. And recently I do this pandan tiramisu. It's really nice. It's so out both time, so quick. I wish you could try.
Astoria is close to my heart. That I did spend quite a bit of my life there, actually, and Astoria Park too. Spent a lot of time in Astoria Park, and a lot of time in Ditmars and all of those areas as well. And there's nothing like food in New York City and the diversity of food, and just it's interesting. I just did a post about this the other day as I'm trying to like put more information out there through Gorilla Brave, as I discussed earlier. And one of the things I talk a lot about is there's this trend that's starting to see is the people starting to go back to the enjoyment of the way food was intentionally meant to be made, and just going back to the history of it, particularly in sweets. And as I was like researching it and looking to extrapolate on it, one of the things I found is that this is something that we're going to see more of. And I think what you talked about is you want to introduce it to the world, or introduce it to everyone. There's a lot here, and I think what you do is really cool in the terms of exposing human beings to the tradition and why things were done the way that they were, because of the enhancement that it added to it. And I like that. Talk to me about, wow, how do you choose what to make? Because you can't make everything every day. You talked about selling out the tiramisu. How do you sort of in your mind come up with ideas? How do you rotate those ideas? Like, because this is really cool because it's a creative thing. While baking is an exact science, as you discussed, in many ways. Like, you can't change it once it's started, meaning exact. Once I put it in, I can't all of a sudden tweak it as it's starting to bake or go. But talk to me about all of this. How do you manage all of that? How do you decide what goes on what day? Is there certain items that are more popular because the locals love them? Things like that.
That is an interesting question because I learned as I opened the business that you will have a customer to come into the door and looking for something. And they'll say, why don't you sell this? Why don't you sell that? But to me, I am I am open pastry by end and I want to introduce different things. And I have my style of baking. And when people ask me, what is your baking about? And what is it? I say, I'm a French method baking, but I have an Asian flavor infused into my bake. So one point, actually, I reflect that we can't make everything that everybody would want. If you walk to my store, you wouldn't find cannoli, you wouldn't find red velvet, you wouldn't find muffin because that is not what I'm doing. But I do listen to what people like, and we introduce that. And I have my staple, like the triple C is always there. Ube is there. Ube is very I think people know ube because it has been like exposed and is something that people, oh, this purple thing. But people don't know pandan. And I personally like pandan. Growing up in Thailand, we use pandan for almost everything. For example, we cook the rice and we put pandan in, then infuse it. We make a drink, we put a pandan leaf in it. We make a sticky rice with mango, pandan is in it. So it's something that I love. It's kind of like vanilla of East, but people doesn't know them as much as the ube. So I want to introduce my pandan to people. So I have a pandan cookie, I have a pandan cake, I have a pandan coffee toffee because I am a big fan of coffee and tea. So I incorporate coffee and tea in my baking, and I find that certain thing it surprised me. I'm surprised by my customer who take on the pandan and like, oh my God, I like this. I make a pandan condensed milk. I have it in my coffee. And I tell my customer, if you wanted to try, just come in and let me know. I'll make a coffee with pandan condensed milk free. And then there will be people I was not intent when I opened the bakery to have gluten free, vegan, dairy free, and then gluten free and vegan. But from being here, a lot of people come with this food dietary restriction. And I listen and I say, okay, I want to serve you too. You shouldn't be excluded out of the party because you're gluten free or vegan or dairy free. So I incorporate that and I have, certain things. And I think that you can use any skill that you have to the job that you do. So I'm very organized person. Well, to me, I'm organized. So I will know, okay, what to do. And I will have a plan. Like I'm good at planning because I'm work administrative for a long time. So those skills are helping me till today of, okay, if I want to bake these, how much I have, you know, what to do first, what to do next, and what could use with my bake. Often I have all the same that people like that I don't change them, that stay in the shelf. And with the change, I would do something different. Like these 2 weeks, this week and last week, I introduced Pandan tiramisu. When now I'm planning for Valentine's, and I make sure when I do all of these, incorporate for people or my customer that have gluten free, vegan, and etc. I do a pot go for St. Patrick, and basically is a pastry with yuzu cream, and yuzu is a Japanese lemon. So it's something that I'm introduced different flavor and people catch on to it. I love tea, so I make strawberry yuzu tea, watermelon basil, something that I make in house. So it's kind of it's I think it's the moment when it's inspired me about to put another round of my name is Earl because I like Earl Grey. So I got these. My customer bought me this tea, lavender, Earl Grey and lavender from France. I said, oh, what a nice thing. So now I'm going to incorporate this into my cake. I'm going to bake Earl Grey cake. So I guess it's just planning and try to bring something new to people. I have a lemon lodge, which is lemon mousse, and I encase them in the white chocolate. So it's just picture you having a Magnum ice cream when you bite on it and it's crunched, and then inside is a lemon mousse. So I play with those texture. I have hazelnut shot, which is a hazelnut mousse. I encase them in the chocolate, and one of my and it's gluten free because there's no flour. And one of my gluten free customer mentioned that, I couldn't have a cookie shot at Dominic Ansel. Now I can have hazelnut shot from Anne. I say, why not? So that's excitement for them sometimes with my
I love it.
customer that, food restriction.
They're getting to experience something in a whole new way.
Definitely. And when I have this, I always tell people you can put your shot of espresso, put a little ice cream, and on Friday, one of my customers say, you know what, Anne, can you do an espresso shot on my hazelnut? And when I pour it, I give it to him and I say, do you want me to close it? You're going to have it? Yes, I'm going to have it. And he go with his friend and sit down. And when he had that, I said, oh, wow, I can never find gluten free like that. And I'm like, it just make me happy. My life used to be miserable working in the corporate world. Seek happiness. This is happiness to me. When you make people happy, when they have it and they're happy, when they have a sad day and they come for some pick me up, they make me happy.
I think it's very powerful what you're doing. The joy the love you're putting into your food. I think that everyone in the audience can understand that the very thing that makes you successful is how much love, attention to detail that you put into the food. And then your creativity is just amazing. And you've kept true to who you are, which is this loving human, but this creative human, but it's also your journey. There's a mixture of things from your adventure and parts of the world or things people have introduced you to. As we talked about with the tea, I think these are all amazing things. Pandan is green, right? Where ube is purple also. There's a difference there. Is that what we're talking about in terms of pandan? It's green.
Yes, the pandan is the plants that grow in Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
So if you would talk to somebody from Japan, they might not really know it because they're not from the part of the Asia. But it's green leaves, and it just, I buy them frozen. I cut them up. I put in the water. I blend them, and then I strain them. You can also use pandan extract, which is they have the way to extract it. It's just so nice. It's like it's different, but it kind of combination. It's vanilla and coconut at the same time. It's hard to explain, but it's really nice flavor, and that was really surprised me on how well my customer grabs to it and they like it, and it's just that it's made me happy. Like, oh wow, you try something new. This is what I like to encourage people. Like, try something different, because sometimes we just we a creature of habit. We just order what we like. We don't try something else. But I say, hey, you try it, you don't like it, you don't have to have it again.
Talk to me about what are the things that you're still learning in your business. You've been in business for a while, and you're understanding your customer base obviously more and more. What are some of the things you're still learning? What are some things you have learned about yourself, maybe about business, anything? What some growth that has taken place in you personally since taking on this venture of being a food entrepreneur?
I feel that I'm learning every day, but what I also learn from the whole thing is sometimes I think that people, what to put it, I want to tell people, my customer, when my customer come, they know what they get, the baked good from me, the quality, the care that I have. But I also tell them in the same time that, I understand everybody have limitation and financial difference in, you know, different level. But sometimes when the food is cheap, you have to start questioning it. What is really in it? Because sometimes people say, oh, why is this? Why is that? I say, look, do you do your own grocery shopping? Yes. Okay. So if you do your own grocery shopping, you know how much everything costs. So if they can sell you 99 cents, you have to think what's in it. So my principle in the place is I stand behind on what I do, and I wouldn't do certain things, and they know that. And like I would turn. I'm getting better to say no to people, because when people come in and say, "Oh, I want red velvet," I got a call from Oklahoma, a woman on the phone, and asked me to make a red velvet for her son. I said to her, I said, I'm sorry. If you want a chocolate cake, I bake your chocolate cake. There's no reason for me to put a red dye in it. She said, why not? I said, because I don't want to. She said, but I pay you. I'll give you money if you want. How much is it? I want you to bake it for my son. I say, no, I won't bake it. You can call at the bakery. Oh, I have a 16 want a red velvet. I say, I'm sorry. I have a mom come for the 7 years old daughter want a super black cake. I say, I can't do it. And I won't give it. I won't do it. You can go for somebody else. They might make it for you. So it's hard to stay true to yourself sometimes because you might want to make more money, but my customer never a number to me. It's not how much money I can make out of them. It's my community. In in my culture, we serve a good food. When you come to my house, I give you the best I could, and this is who I am. So I think that people in the perception of think why it isn't cheap. But when they come to the table, why your cake is this much? I said because we, this is the ingredient I put it in. For example, ube cake and pandan cake is very different. They want most of the people or most of the bakery do those with the sponge cake, and my cake is not sponge cake. So I don't use just egg. I use butter, use different things. So hence, it's different texture, different mouthfeel. So people will say, why? I said, because it's different. You try it. If you don't like it, I'll give money back to you. But I can't sell the same price. So people always under the impression that, thing has to be a certain way, or they would think that dessert is bad, but they don't think about the processed food and ultra processed food that they have. The yogurt that they have could be more sugar, more artificial thing go into it. While the ingredient that I make is probably less processed than what they have. So sometimes I find myself be in the educating business to tell people, hey, look for what you eat. This thing in the supermarket shelf. I was doing the research the other day with my cookie. I do the nutrition and calorie count versus the cookie from the big company name. That quarter of that is actually more than the pack of cookie that I'm selling. So I think I learned how to maneuver or educate people along the way because sometimes I think that they don't understand, and then rightfully so. They might not. They might not think why my cake is square, why my croissant is heart shaped. But everything that I do is actually have a reason behind it. Like I would say, I don't like the croissant that is just a lot of thing in the center and nothing on the end. So my croissant, my guava croissant is a heart shape because every bite you bite into it, you get the guava jam all throughout. It's like it's hard to change, and sometimes like you grow up eating certain thing or it has to be certain way. You might think that even though it's different, it tastes better, but you're not used to it. I took my friend to a restaurant having a meatloaf, and she didn't like it. And I'm like, why? This is a restaurant, 5-star restaurant. I don't like it because my mom used to make this with ketchup. So so we have to change that. So so that's what I'm trying to tell people. Hey, it's better. It tastes better, but you're not used to it. So that's why sometimes you in the food industry is very, very instant. If they don't like your food, do you notice they will go to the Google review and they will review you right away in the second.
That's very true.
But if you do something good or something excellent, it it might not be coming in your way. I used to handling passenger complaint at my company. You have to see that a lot of people write about the complaint, and it will be a few that come in with compliment. So I always tell people if I come across doing business with vendor, and if they do that excellent job, they help me, they do this, I say thank you so much. I want you to know that you helped me a lot. Thank you. Or I have customers who come in and say, and I want to tell you your style is very clean. I like it. I said, thank you. I was an elderly lady, actually. She said that to me. And I said, you know what? Thank you very much. Because not a lot of people do that to give a compliment, but everybody quick to give a complaint. So thank you for letting me know. But I'm a clean freak, so I'm always clean.
That's good when you're in the food business for sure. Clean as you go is a good policy. Even in the food game, don't wait for the end of the day or wait for someone else to do it. I do say that all the time because that stuff, if you get a busy day or something happens or a last minute order and you want to capitalize on it, you're behind the game if the place is already dirty. So that's
Yeah.
it's one of those
And work
things.
with the station. Yeah, definitely. Like, you have to have your station clean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's very true. Talk to me a little bit about you talked about everything with a purpose, everything with intent. Everything has such purpose behind it. I think you think things through not only from a process, but from the end user standpoint, or what I would say consumer. Like when you talk about getting a bite of jam out of every bite, it's valuable. It is true. And croissants, the way they're made traditionally, are just such a pain to deal with. Just something I've learned recently. We didn't bake. We always outsourced it in all my businesses because it is something that didn't specialize in. Is one of the things we outsourced in each of places we had our facilities or food production. And one of the things that I find what you're saying is some of the issues I think we get stuck in because we think people reject it. But I think what you talked about is the ability to deliver something so there's a better experience and there's a better exposure to the right type of baking. I want to ask a question on this. The ingredients throughout the show, you've talked about making things from scratch. You've talked about the importance of what the ingredients have in it. You've talked about customizing for gluten-free, etc. Talk to me about ingredients, sourcing. You talked about integrity, a little bit of it, and vendors and things like that. But let's talk about why such a concern about where the ingredients come from, how the ingredients are made, processed, that you're making them from scratch. Talk to me a little bit about all of that.
I believe that everything starts with the ingredient, the good ingredient. And why am I concerned about what what I'm getting or what I'm putting out? Because I always feel that we consume things throughout the day from many different places. Even yourself, you on the go, you buy, you eat. So I want to be one of the place that do not contribute to your high blood pressure. Don't want to contribute to you having an issue because you make it from other places already. I might not know you as a person. I might not know who you are, what you do, but I care. I care about what I put out. It's not much about other people, but it's more out from me. I care about my work. I care about how I care of my places, my business. So those is about me. Like I hold my own standard. So that's why it's important to me. For example, we use Calibo. Why? It's good chocolate. We use some from Verona because it's a good chocolate. It's a good place. You'll be surprised some of the big names sometimes they don't even use that. They use Hershey because it's cheaper. If you look back, I think in 1970 things started changing a lot from really true ingredient selling to people to something convenient. TV dinner,
Absolutely.
Debbie, I'm sorry, Little Debbie and thing. Not that they're bad. This is the name that I just come into my mind right now in our conversation. Easy, convenient. What happened to easy, convenient? Is have to have a good shelf life. Preservative come in, oh, it has to look good. Because if you look, we eat from our eye. If it doesn't look good, we don't want it. We want it to look pretty. We want it to be bright. Red velvet, for a good example. It's red. It's pretty. I want that. And I challenge you to look in the recipe. And I know you know. Some of the recipe asks for quarter cup of dye, red dye. Is it good for you? You probably get red dye anywhere. If you look at the ingredient, it could become from your yogurt, your breakfast. But I don't want to be that. I like to know what go in my food. If I can cook, I cook. Sometimes, occasionally, yes, let's go out, let's eat. But if I have an opportunity to cook, I would I would cook. If I have an opportunity to bake together, I would bake. Not only that the food that you put out, but the interaction, a human interaction of cooking together, baking together, do things together is much better. So it's important to me that I have this standard. And if the person walk into my store and don't look for that and want something, it's okay too, because they're not my customer. That's what I tell myself. Because if you care about what you eat, you see what you put into your body, then you know that this is what it is. You can taste it. I don't know. My customers say it to me all the time. I can taste it on your food. And I think so too. Like if I go to people who really love cooking, I can taste it, the difference. So I would like to believe that my baked good can tell that difference when you have it. So I think that's what come from for me, that I try to avoid those that unnecessary and stick through with the ingredient that I have. And I use them for many reasons. Truffle pecorino, for example. Pecorino cannoli. Why? Because I like sweet and savory. So I want to do cheese in my cannoli. I'm looking for cheese. And I say, oh, but I want some of a good cheese. So I have a friend who's a chef, and he told me, and if you want to do cheese, you want to do something that is nice, maybe try this truffle pecorino. And I said, why should I use this cheese company? And he told me, because this place, the cheesemaker on the truffle farm, is import all the way from Sicily. Because he's on his own truffle farm, he add that actual truffle in his cheese. And throughout the whole year, he can produce 600,000 pounds of this cheese. And it's been purchased globally. You look at 600,000 pounds and say, wow, that's a lot. But when you think about globally that they can produce, it's not much.
Exactly.
And in the US, there's only 3 companies that can import a cheese that has a real pecorino in it, not a powder, not an oil, but actual pecorino. He gave me the sample. I love it. I said, oh my God, this is going to be good with my cannoli. That is sweet. And this is. So I said, let me do truffle pecorino cannoli. Sold out. And people said, oh my God, this is so good. I even keep some cheese for my customer to try. I say, have the cheese. Try a bite. You'll see why. Is it expensive to me to get that cheese? Yes. But it's worth it. Why? Because it's so good. I mean, those truffle oil, truffle powder, it leaves such a artificial flavor to me. So again, it's go back to artisanal. It's not a lot. This guy only make this much, only sell this much, and he knows that he put truffle because he owns his farm. So that's something that I like, that I know that this is from here. I can see, I can taste, I can feel. I go with that. The same thing with guava. I do guava jam. Why? Because I want to give something that tastes good. Do it take time for me to do? Yes, I spend a lot of time, countless hours in the bakery. And I'm sure other entrepreneurs in the same food industry. I have many people walk in my store and say, hey, you should cut some step. Maybe you buy something and don't do it. And I say, you know what? I understand where you come from. But that's not what I stand for here in this community, in my store. So yes, I can buy a tart shell, but God's only know how many ingredients in it, how do they make it, how what kind of chemical in it. But if I make in my store, I know it's butter, flour, sugar, eggs. Simple. How many times you buy bread during COVID? You bought the bread, leave it outside. 6 months, it still doesn't have mold. I stopped buying bread because of that.
Comment on this, please. Please let me. My gosh, I don't even know how to describe this. So when I was in the food business and we outsourced baking, and we there were some things here and there we would have to outsource because we were so large and doing tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of meals a day, depending on the hospital system, which stacked up to millions of meals a day across our systems. You sometimes you outsource something to someone and you have them produce something for you in a clean way. Because for me in the hospital and long-term care home business, I was able to, knew my output roughly. We always knew the hospital counts roughly, and the hospitals would order what they needed. And so we were producing as they needed it. So even as the baking stuff would come in, we knew roughly how much was on hand and whatever. So everything was just in time, off the farms this morning or yesterday, producing the food today, lunch, dinner tomorrow, breakfast the following day. So as little amount of time out of the ground, off the tree, off the vine, slaughtered as possible before it's in the consumers. Why? Because we wanted to make sure the nutritional value was as high as possible when it was delivered to the patients or the long-term care residents or the retired living homes, whatever it was in that side of the business, what I would call the contract feeding side of the business or contract food.
Yeah.
But what I learned very quickly when we were outsourcing baking and some of the other things, and we quickly, other than baking, we just had to find the right partners because it wasn't something you take on and it's very hard, and you got to have a lot of people that know what they're doing and science and stuff like that. And but what co-packers will do sometimes is they'll exchange out products on you and they will tweak things on their end to give them more shelf life also, or to make it so they don't have to turn it around as quickly for you. So these are things to know. How did we pick it up? Well, every single thing that goes into a healthcare system as a nutritional analysis, even on the go, coming into the facilities, it's constantly checked. It's constantly reviewed. You constantly know what's going into the patients before we went out the door. Why were we able to do that? Because we did it in a central production model. So we lowered the labor to produce the food, but we made it mostly from scratch across the board, other than when I said we brought in the bread, so we weren't making it from scratch, and certain items, there were things here and there. We didn't make juice from scratch. We didn't do that. We didn't milk the cows. So there were things that we couldn't do, but there were a majority of it we tried to do as much as we could ourselves. But you learn a lot about the food system. You learn a lot about the sleight of hand and about how people spread margins or increase their profit or whatever for whatever reasons. It does diminish value. I just talked about this on the podcast you guys will get before this. Walter's hot dogs, they're like 106 years old. They're in New York also, but they stuck to the quality of the stuff. There's a lot of Italian tradition and the purity of ingredients, similar to Italian ways of doing a lot of things. And I think that it's important that we understand that holding true to the value of our product builds legacies. Dodging around, doing whatever, your competition is who can get to the bottom the fastest and then hold on the longest by building hopefully a brand that holds on. I mean, the fast food game is a little bit of that. It's a race to the bottom in a lot of ways. Who can come up with the innovative items but make them the cheapest so everyone continues to buy them in volume. But you see what happens. The businesses deteriorate. There's not as much money being able to put in the franchises. The employees aren't being as well trained anymore. Why is that? It's because there isn't the care or the core value or the moral purpose that truly binds a human to a purpose and a mission and a vision over the long run of a business. And so what we're talking about here with Anne is exactly that. We're talking about building true quality that has the foundation and the structure to be long lasting. And even in contract feeding, there's a difference between someone who's buying everything, preservatives in freezers, popping it in a microwave, and a company that's producing it from scratch, chilling it properly, retherming it without any cooking or microwave or anything like that, just introducing it in a way it's actually not even cooking it. And there are things that differentiate quality, value, nutritional purpose going into our bodies. If you haven't listened to this show before, you'll know I talk a lot about the reason we're hungry is less about volume of food and more about the nutrition we're getting from the food we're eating. So you eat a bunch of food and it's nutritionally bankrupt, you're going to still be hungry. It doesn't matter if it's the perceived junk food or not junk food, or chocolate versus not chocolate, or pie versus not pie. The difference has everything to do with the ingredients. It's 100% true. And we spend a lot of money making our houses nice and renovating our houses and cleaning our houses, yet we don't look at our food and the food we buy the same way. If we're going to clean house, going to want to make things clean, look at where we're buying. It's okay to still indulge in all the things you love. There's just a little bit of a tweak of a perception or the lenses that we look through that needs to take place, that honestly needs to understand what and where and how does it come from into our system, and what, if we continue to support the way we're eating now, does it truly do to the food system? Does everything have its place? Sure. Do we want people starving? No. But
It's
is there a
very
better way to
difficult,
do it?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's very, I'm so sorry to interrupt you,
No,
but it's
I
very,
love it. Go ahead.
very hard because people, because of the marketing, because of these people who researches, is you don't chew the food as much, because even though you crunch and munch those Cheetos, it's light. So your body tell you need to eat more. So you consume more of those. And simple as, other stuff that we have. I have a lot of customers said, and why don't you do Oreo on Nutella? And I asked them why. You might like Oreo, but it's the worst thing that you could ever eat. But yet it's vegan, but it's not good for you. It's mind-boggling of sometime we don't look into what we eat. Like people people go for all of this because the marketing, like go into it. The sounds of the cereal that you open is pop, it cranking, the sound go to your bowl. And sometimes it's wonder, like sometimes people think that, oh, because of this is bad. No, I don't tell people what to eat, but I tell them what we offer and what we don't do. That's why if you walk into Pastry by Aunt, you wouldn't see Oreo cheesecake, Oreo cake. No, or Nutella this and that. No, I know you want it, but it's not good for you. So I am not giving it to you. As as I'm on the business, this is not what I want to serve you. And I think that it's not a lot of people out there that own the business have the perspective or their value on, okay, this is what we're gonna do. But it's more of how much money I can make, how many head can walk into the store. But my focus is different. And sometimes it's hard for me to get to people. But I have a good customer base. I have a people who's like, wow, I like your food. And they come back. I make birthday cake 2 years in a row for people, 3 years in a row. It's just the matter of what you look at what you eat. It's different. It's so hard. You can't change, but can it be happen? Yes. We have to look at the ingredient. Look at the look at the packaging, Justin. It's from the Gatorade used to be in, I believe, in the glass jar.
Yeah,
Now it's in plastic.
exactly.
Why? Because it's cheaper. You look at the ingredient, it's so different from before and now. Even the French fries in the McDonald's. Here we have 12 ingredients versus otherwhere else, like in UK, is 4. But people love it because of all of those that come in. It's just like that slogan. Have it your way. You can have this. Eat more and 5 years less on your life. Maybe I should put like that. Like, oh, you want a red velvet? So
Yeah, that's
have it
very
here.
true.
But we don't think about it. We just think of the fast, easy, pretty, tastes good.
I agree with you 100%. And it's the years we take off our lives, definitely not elongating them by these decisions, these everyday decisions. They stack up quickly. And if that doesn't give you perspective, I don't know. I just read a thing where if we don't clean up the diets by the time we're 30 years old in our lives, we take 11 years off of our life. And by clean up, that means preservatives, unnatural products, things like that. That's a lot. That's a full decade with our family, with loved ones, memories, those type of things that are just, who are you robbing? Yourself, obviously, but you're also robbing those around you when we make those decisions, for sure. Not to
Definitely.
mention, since I was in healthcare, the weight on the healthcare system. And if we really wanted to cheapen healthcare system, there's a tipping scale there. That's unfortunate. There's things that happen naturally and we get diseases and all sorts of things as human beings and sick. But there's also the things that we're choosing to do that are causing the sickness, that are putting that weight on it, which is why it is rising. So, and when we continue to make choices and it compounds generation after generation, and when we compound things generationally like that, it often gets worse, not better, if we don't stop it. But we can be a generation, or you can be the human in your family, to change the way you eat and change the way you make decisions or you shop. Like we said, you can still indulge in all the things you love and cherish. It's just have a conscience about where does it come from? How is it affecting the planet? How's it affecting your body? How's it affecting your family's body? What about your grandchildren if they kept eating this way?
Yes, definitely. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's just like it's sometimes I think that the food item is more from the childhood, like you said. So it's nostalgic to you. So you're like, oh, I like that. So I would have that. So it's hard to change, I would say.
Yeah, French fry was my first words. It wasn't mom or dad. It was French fry. And McDonald's French fries was like a thing as a kid. They ingrained it young. We condition our kids through cartoons and commercials, that all the characters and all the cartoons and all that stuff, it's great marketing, but it conditions us in a way that it's okay because we see it so much. It becomes normal because it's so common. And we see it in the grocery store, more common. And so I think it's just, it's hard, but we need to think outside of the norms and start to eat differently. And you have taken a lot of your time, and I appreciate you staying on so long. Is there anything you want to say before we get off, or anything, inspiration, motivation? I'd love to have you back on, so I'll definitely send you out an invite to sign up for another one. But anything
Th-
you want to sort of wrap up as we come to an end here?
I think that I support what you said. I think that we should think about what we put in our body. We should think more of the simple ingredient, not not the fast one, not the fast food, not something that, just go and grab in the grocery store. Perhaps get back to the kitchen, have some human interaction, and cooking your food and do things with your children or your loved one, that I think that would change that from grab something fast from the store, go to supermarket and grab that and, you know, go back to the basic.
I love it. Thank you. Where can they find you online? Where's your store located in Astoria? How can they support you? Lay that on us.
I have my Instagram at Pastries by Anne, and our store is at 2813 Ditmart. So I'm on the Ditmarts of the whole Astoria. So if you're in the area, stop by, say hello, try some baked good. You are welcome.
Thank you so much, Anne. I appreciate your time and what you did and sharing your story and your journey and your dedication to continue to stay true to what you believe in, and like we said, the ingredients, the traditions, the thinking about things to deliver better ways of giving people food. I love the heart croissants. I think that's awesome. Square cake. I think that's important as well. I think all those things are very, very smart and very intuitive. And just because we did it that way doesn't mean it still has to be done that way always. So that's just for everyone to think about. There's certain traditions and things to get things to taste a certain way and certain things to stick to. But also within that realm is the ability to be creative. So I will leave everyone with that. I love you guys in the audience. Thank you everyone for continuing to like, share, subscribe to the episode, continue to pass on the shows if you think it would help an entrepreneur out there. But I enjoy it. Thank you everyone for the support and the love. And we're out.
Thank you.